The room was bright. Too bright. Golden lights shined on the glass cage. Inside, a girl sat on the floor. Her skin was pale, almost glowing. Her name was Lyra. She was human. She wore a silver collar around her neck. Her hands and feet were locked in soft, glowing chains. They didn't hurt her, but they reminded her she was not free. Aliens walked past her cage. Some laughed, some pointed, some took pictures. She did not move. She only stared. "This one is rare," said a tall blue alien with long fingers. He was a merchant, a human girl. Pure DNA, no cyber mods. Original Earth blood. The crowd of aliens cheered. "Her name is Lyra," the merchant said. "She's smart. She sings, she speaks 12 galactic languages, and," he smiled darkly, "she obeys." Lyra looked away. Her eyes did not show fear. Only silence, but inside her mind, a storm was growing in the darkness of her mind. She focused. She had learned a trick long ago, something forbidden. She could send thoughts, not to aliens, not to machines, only to humans. She didn't know if any humans were left, but still, she tried, her eyes closed. "Please, if someone hears me, I am here, Ate. They call me Lyra. I'm chained. For their fun, please, claim me, or I will suffer here, and die." Far away on a dirty planet covered in mines and smoke, a boy named Riven dropped his tool. He stood up, confused. His heart beat fast. He looked around. No one spoke, but he had heard it. "Claim me," again, in his head. A soft girl's voice. He had never heard a human voice like that before. Not in his life. He was born on the mining colony, raised by machines. Humans were almost extinct, hunted, scattered. No one talked about Earth anymore. But now, this voice. Lyra, chained. For their fun, Riven's hands shook. He felt something. A pull. A fire. Like a part of him was waking up. Back on the merchant ship, the auction began. Lyra stood now as the merchant ordered. Her chains made soft clicks as she moved. A red alien with sharp teeth spoke. "Does she bite? She does not fight." The merchant said, "She's been trained." The alien walked up to her cage. He touched the glass. "She's beautiful," he said. "So rare." Lyra stayed still, but inside her, she sent her voice again. "Please, whoever heard me, I don't want to be here. I'm not a pet. I'm not a toy. I'm human." The merchant smiled. "Bidding starts at 30,000 credits." On the mining planet, Riven sat alone in his small room. He drew the face he saw in his mind. The girl, Lyra. He didn't know why he saw her so clearly. He had never met her. But her voice, it felt real. More real than anything. "Claim me." Why him? Why now? He turned on his old data screen. Typed into the system, "Human girl and alien auction." No results. He tried again. Are there any humans still alive? Still nothing? But then, the voice again. "This is not a dream. I am real. You are my only chance." Riven stood up. "I'm going to find you," he whispered. "Whoever you are." He didn't have a ship. He didn't have weapons. He didn't even have permission to leave the planet. But he had something else. He had anger back on the ship. The bidding ended. Sold. The merchant said, "To the Lord of Vecta Prime." Lyra was taken away. The cage rolled down the hall. Her eyes stayed open, calm, but inside, her voice grew louder. "I will not die here. I will not stay silent. Someone heard me. I know. Chains can break." Somewhere, across the stars, a boy had begun to build something. A broken engine. A stolen ship core. A printed map. He didn't know where Lyra was, But he knew one thing. She was calling, and he was the only one listening. Asterisk. The sky above the mining colony was always gray. Smoke rose from tall machines. The ground was dry, cracked, and dead. Nothing grew here. No birds. No trees. Only noise, the sound of drills, the rumble of engines, and the groans of tired workers. Riven walked through the dust with his head down. A metal tag hung around his neck. Unit 9GX7. Human worker. He wasn't special. It's one of many humans who worked here for food and sleep. But today, something was different. That voice still echoed in his mind. Claim me, please, or I will suffer here. He had not slept, not eaten. The voice had come again and again. It was not a dream. He was sure of it. He entered the junkyard, a place where broken ships and machines were left to rot. Riven's hands shook as he pulled off a metal sheet. Under it was a half-buried escape pod. Old, rusty, but not dead. This will fly, he whispered. He didn't know how yet, but he had to try. Back inside his small room, Riven turned on his cracked data screen again. He spoke softly to it. Computer, can you track psychic messages? The screen blinked. Error, no records found. He sighed. He knew the system wouldn't help him, so he opened a drawer. Inside was something rare. A book. A real paper book, hidden for years. Its cover said, The Lost Gifts of Humanity. Riven opened the pages. Inside were strange stories. Humans who could move things with their mind. Humans who could speak without words. Humans who could light fires just by screaming. Fairy tales maybe. But what if they were true? Lyra's voice came again, but this time, clearer. Riven, that is your name? Yes? He froze. She knew his name. You hear me? That means you are like me. It's one of the old kind. One of the lost. He whispered back, unsure if it would work. Where are you? Trapped in a cage of gold. Watched like a show animal, sold like a toy. You are the first to hear me in years. Riven's chest tightened. He could feel her fear. Her pain was like it had entered his own heart. He closed his eyes. I will come for you. In the command tower above the colony, two alien supervisors watched their screens. One of them turned and frowned. There's a signal, it said. Something strange. Human brain activity, level 4 spike. From which unit? 9GX7. A worker named Riven. The second alien narrowed its eyes. No human should have that kind of brain activity. Check his bloodline. The screen blinked, then flashed red. Warning, Genesis signature detected. They looked at each other. That's impossible. No. The second one whispered. It means one survived. Back in the junkyard, Riven worked through the night. He pulled wires, hammered panels, stole parts from other broken ships. His fingers bled, but he didn't stop. Lyra kept speaking to him. Not with full words now, but with feelings, memories, pictures. He saw flashes, her inside the cage. Alien crowds watching her cry. A red alien touching her arm. Her chains glowing when she screamed silently. She was losing strength. Riven worked faster. An old worker passed by and saw him. You'll get killed for touching that ship, he warned. I don't care, Riven said. The old man squinted. What are you doing? Riven looked at him, eyes burning. Saving someone who doesn't deserve to die in a cage. The man shook his head. There's no heroes here. Not anymore. I'm not a hero, Riven replied. I'm just done being quiet. That night, as he finished rewiring the engine, the ground shook. Sirens screamed across the colony. All human units returned to quarters. Emergency, lockdown. Riven ducked under the ship. Soldiers were coming, not regular ones, hunters. He had seen them once before. They didn't ask questions. They killed. A voice echoed in his mind. Not Lyra. This time, it was male. Deep. Cold. Riven. You are not supposed to exist. Come quietly or die. Riven's jaw tightened. He turned the ship's ignition switch. The engine coughed, sputtered, then roared to life. In Lyra's cage, far across space, her eyes opened wide. She smiled the first real smile in years. You heard me, and now they hear you. Riven climbed into the small ship. The sky above the colony opened with fire, as the hunters chased him. But Riven only looked forward. He whispered, "Chains break," and he blasted into the stars. The stars outside the window looked beautiful, but Lyra didn't see them. She sat in her new cage, smaller than before. The bars were gold. The floor was soft, but cold. Her chains were tighter now, glowing red, alive, breathing. This wasn't just a cage. It was a prison made to hurt hope. The ship flew through deep space. Inside, alien voices laughed. Music played. Lights flashed. This wasn't a prison ship. It was a party. The alien who bought her was called Lord Thrax, ruler of a small pleasure planet known for strange shows and soft screams. His body was large, his skin dark green and oily. His 6 eyes blinked at different times. He didn't speak to Lyra at first. He only looked at her like she was a rare toy. "She's perfect," he whispered to his assistant. "She will earn me millions." They weren't going to hurt her the usual way. They were going to display her. That night, Lord Thrax opened the main hall of his palace. Guests arrived, aliens of every size and shape. Some flew, some slithered. Some carried pet humans on leashes, dressed in jewels, smiling without souls. But Lyra didn't smile. She sat inside her cage, silent. A spotlight hit her. Music stopped. "She is the last of her kind," Thrax said, walking across the stage. A pure human, no mods, no fear. She can speak. She can sing. She can feel pain. And tonight, you will see all three. The crowd laughed, clapped. Thrax turned to Lyra. "Sing," he ordered. Lyra said nothing. Thrax's smile faded. He pressed a button on his wristband. The chains on her wrists lit up. She gasped, body arching in pain. "Sing." She looked up, eyes burning, and she sang. Not a song of joy, not a soft lullaby, but a sound so old, so full of pain and power. The room went silent. Even the aliens who didn't understand human words felt something in their bones. It was a song from Earth, a funeral song. Meanwhile, in deep space, Riven's ship shook as it entered a worm corridor. His fingers gripped the controls. The stolen ship wasn't meant for fast travel, but he had no choice. He could feel Lyra's pain again. Not words this time, only sharp waves, like cold knives in his chest. He wasn't trained. He wasn't ready, but he was angry, and anger was fuel. Back at the palace, Thrax ended the performance. "Place her in the viewing room," he said. "Let them take photos." Guards rolled the cage down a bright hallway. Lyra's voice was gone. Her throat hurt. Her hands shook. But her mind was alive. He's coming. She didn't know how she knew. She just did. He heard me. And now he's close. Inside the viewing room, aliens stood around her cage. Some reached out to touch the glass. Some threw coins at the floor. One tried to feed her a glowing fruit. She didn't move. Then a small child, not human, walked up and asked, "Why? Is she in there?" His alien father replied, "Because she's beautiful." But she said, "That's the fun part." The child stared at Lyra, and Lyra stared back. Riven's ship dropped out of the worm corridor. Before him was a planet glowing with lights and noise, Vecta. Prime. His screen blinked. No landing permission detected, auto turrets armed. He didn't stop. He flew straight in, engines roaring like a beast, inside the palace. Lord Threx checked a message from his security. A human ship just entered orbit. The guard said. Threx blinked. Impossible. We bought the last one. No ID, just a signature on its core. Which is? The guard looked up. Genesis. Lyra sat up straight. She didn't smile, but she knew. He's here. The chains on her wrists pulsed, as if they felt it too in the sky above Vecta Prime. Defense cannons fired. Riven swerved left, dove through clouds, burned past towers. Missiles followed him. One hit his wing. The ship shook, but Riven didn't slow down. He spoke to the ship's AI. Target the palace. Full speed. The AI beeped. You'll crash. I know. On the ground, alarms rang across the palace. Unidentified craft incoming. Someone shouted. Lord Threx stared at the screens. Shoot him down. But it was too late. Riven's ship tore through the palace dome and slammed into the upper halls in a wave of smoke and fire. The glass above Lyra shattered. The lights went out. Screams filled the air. From the wreckage, a figure rose, covered in ash, eyes glowing, breathing like a storm. Lyra saw him. He wasn't a dream. He was real, and her chains began to crack. The palace burned. Alien guards screamed. Fires crackled, and glass rained down like deadly snow. Smoke filled the main hall, thick and black. But Lyra didn't move. She sat in her cracked cage, eyes wide, staring into the fire. He had come. Through the smoke, a figure walked slowly, covered in dust, half-bloodied, skin burned but standing. Riven. His eyes glowed faint blue. Not human. Not anymore. He didn't look scared. He looked angry. Threx shouted from the upper level, voice shaking. Who are you? Riven looked up. I'm the one you didn't expect. He raised his arm. A strange metal band had formed on his wrist, glowing like ancient tech. One of the guards fired. Riven moved like wind. He grabbed the guard midair and slammed him against the wall. Bones cracked. The crowd screamed and scattered. Another guard rushed with an electric staff. Riven didn't step back. He opened his hand, and the staff stopped in the air. Everyone froze. Riven's fingers clenched. The staff snapped into pieces. Lyra's heart raced. He's one of us, she thought. One of the Genesis humans built long ago. Lost in time, forgotten, but not dead. She watched as Riven walked toward her cage. He knelt beside it. Lyra, he whispered. You called. I came. Her chains pulsed with red light. Alive, angry. They're biologs, she said weakly. They'll attack if anyone touches them. I don't care. Eh? He reached out. The moment his hand touched the chain, a shockwave burst through the air. Riven flew back, crashing into a pillar. Blood spilled from his mouth. Don't, she screamed. But he was already standing again. On a warship orbiting the planet, a cold voice spoke. He's awake, another voice replied, sharper. I thought all Genesis humans were destroyed. The first voice paused. Clearly, one survived, maybe two. And what now? The voice gave a quiet answer. We hunt them. Back in the burning palace, Threx activated emergency protocols. Steel doors slammed down, laser grids turned on. Gas hissed from the walls. I don't care if he's a god, Threx yelled. Kill him. But Riven stood still, calm. He looked at the wreckage, the guards, the fire, and something inside him opened. For the first time, he remembered. A memory buried deep in his blood rose to the surface. A lab, long ago. Humans being built, not born. Voices, you were made for the end times. Chains, needles, screaming Lyra, younger, locked in a tube beside him. We were created together, he whispered. Lyra heard him in her mind. They thought we'd forget, but we remember now. A guard rushed toward her cage to pull her out. Riven moved first, a blur of motion. His fist landed like thunder. The guard flew across the hall. The cage shattered with a second shockwave. The biolock screamed, glowing like fire. Then they cracked. Not broken by force, broken by connection. Riven held Lyra's hand. The chains melted away. She stood, weak, shaking, but free. He looked at her with fire in his eyes. No more cages, he said. But Lyra looked up. They'll send more, stronger ones. I know, Riven replied. Let them come. Outside the palace, the city of Vecta Prime went silent. All screens blinked. Then, a broadcast began. It wasn't from the government. It wasn't from the Rex. It was from them. A human face filled the sky. Riven, he spoke. Calm but strong. To every human watching this, no matter what planet you're hiding on, listen carefully. He paused. They made us slaves, toys, pets, but we were never weak. They feared us, so they locked us away. But now, he looked at Lyra beside him. We're awake, and we are not alone. In dark corners of the galaxy, old humans looked up at the screen. Miners, cleaners, forgotten ones. They whispered the same word, Genesis. But somewhere deeper in space, another signal lit up a machine. A hunter, something. Old, it turned toward the stars. A cold voice echoed through the darkness. Target confirmed. 2 Genesis units detected. Begin elimination. Lyra looked at Riven as the fire burned behind them. Do we run? She asked. He shook his head. No, we hunt. She's inside. 40 guards, no exits. Riven looked up at the black tower and said only 3 words. Then I'll make one. The galaxy had changed. Whispers of the Genesis humans spread like fire. Some aliens mocked it. Some feared it. Some sent bounty hunters. And some just watched, waiting. But Riven and Lyra didn't stop. They were headed to Zera Station, the central trade hub of the Outer Rings. It wasn't just a market, it was a fortress. Inside its black tower was the archive vault, a forbidden place where ancient secrets were stored, hidden, locked by blood keys and death codes. Lyra believed the truth about them was buried there. Riven didn't care about secrets. He just wanted answers. They landed on the lower deck of the station, dressed in stolen armor. No one recognized them yet. Lyra walked beside Riven. Her chains now melted into bracelets. Not dead, just sleeping. Are you sure the answers are here? He asked. She nodded. The Genesis project had 10 phases, or only phase 4. There were others. Riven's eyes narrowed. How many survived? She didn't answer because she didn't know. Security was tight. Biometric locks, eye scanners, drone patrols. But Riven was learning fast. He moved like a soldier, thought like a machine, and reacted like a predator. Lyra hacked doors with just a touch of her fingers. Together, they passed through zones that hadn't been opened in decades until they stood before the final gate, the archive core. A voice echoed as they stepped forward. Access denied. Blood signature not authorized. Riven stepped forward. Try mine. He pressed his palm to the sensor. A pause. Then the door opened. Inside, the walls pulsed with ancient code. Machines blinked awake. Dust rose in the air like ghosts. Screens lit up. Files opened. They didn't see history. They saw proof. Genesis project. Phase log phase. I. Failed. Brains melted. Phase 4. Lyra Riven. Others sent to outer colonies. Phase V. Unknown. Vanished in deep space. Phase Vix. Status redacted. Note, if any units awaken, initiate Protocol Omega. Lyra stepped back. They tried to destroy the others, but why? Riven asked. A voice spoke behind them. Because you were never meant to survive. From the shadows, a figure appeared. Tall, pale, metal skin. Number? Eyes. Just a red glow on its face. A hunter unit, Omega class. Riven stepped in front of Lyra. You followed us here.
Aye.
The hunter said. I was already here, waiting.
Ah.
Then it moved faster than light. Riven dodged, just in time. A laser blade sliced through the wall behind him. Sparks flew. Lyra grabbed a loose energy cable and jammed it into the hunter's leg. Electricity surged, but it didn't stop. Run, Riven shouted. No, Lyra screamed back. We end this now. The hunter grabbed Riven by the throat and lifted him. Phase 4. Effective, weak. Riven's hands glowed. Then he screamed, not in pain. Empower the archive. Walls cracked, screens exploded. The chains on Lyra's wrists lit up like fire, floating into the air and snapping back into place like armor. She wasn't afraid anymore. She was complete. Together, they attacked. Riven punched through the hunter's chest. Metal bending like clay. Lyra's voice echoed in the room, not as a song now, but as a command. Stand down. The hunter paused, just long enough for Riven to rip its core from inside its chest. It fell. Sparks faded. They stood in the silence of the archive core, breathing, bleeding, alive behind them. The files continued to scroll. Then, one final message appeared. Genesis, Phase 7, status, active, location, unknown. Riven looked at Lyra. There are more of us. She nodded, and they're waking up too. Outside the Black Tower, alarms rang across Seraph Station. Wanted posters flickered across every screen. Targets 2 humans, highly dangerous. Kill on sight, but Riven and Lyra didn't run. They stepped into the light. Let them come, Riven thought. Because this time, we're not the hunted, we're the storm. Asterisk. There are moments when time forgets to move. This was one of them. Riven and Lyra stood in silence, inside a stolen ship racing through dark space. Behind them, a station in chaos. Ahead, a galaxy that wanted them dead. But something else was happening. Something neither of them could explain. Lyra leaned against the cold metal wall. Eyes closed, her wrist still glowed with a faint outline of the old chains, not visible to the eye anymore, but felt deep in the blood. She wasn't weak. She wasn't a pet. But something inside her still felt caged. Why can't I break it completely? She whispered. Riven didn't answer right away. He was looking at his own hands. They had changed. Veins glowed faint blue. His touch could bend steel. His mind could slow bullets. But the power came with something else, a memory he hadn't chosen to remember. He sat down beside her. You said we're Phase 4, he said, but something's off. She opened her eyes. What do you mean? I think we were never finished. Suddenly, the ship's alarm screamed. Incoming tracker drones, 10 units ETA. 030. Riven jumped to the controls. They found us again. Lyra stood up, shaky, but focused. Then let's end it. Outside the ship, a swarm of black drones closed in, sharp like knives. Fast as lightning. Each carried pulse cannons and AI brains that never missed. Inside, the lights flickered. Power dropped. They were being jammed. Lyra grabbed Riven's arm. Let me try. He looked at her, confused. Try? What? I don't know. Just let me. She stepped toward the main power core, closed her eyes. Her chains, still embedded under the skin, began to glow. First red, then silver, Then her body lifted inches off the ground, and she remembered everything. A memory hidden by design. A lab, voices screaming. Lyra strapped to a chair. Scientists arguing. She's unstable. Too emotional. No, she's the key. She just needs a trigger. Then chains were welded into her nervous system, not to restrain her, to hold her powers back. In the present, Lyra opened her eyes. They were no longer soft. They were blazing white. Her feet touched the ground. The chains cracked, once, twice, then shattered into dust. Outside the ship, the drones arrived, locked, loaded, ready to kill, inside. Lyra walked to the airlock. Riven shouted, "What are you doing?" She looked back, calm, showing them why we were chained. She pressed the button. The airlock opened. Wind screamed. Light poured in. The drones fired. Lyra raised her hand, and everything stopped, not slowed. Stopped. Riven watched, in awe, as the blaster bolts hung in midair. Like frozen stars, Lyra stepped outside, floating into open space like a goddess wrapped. In energy, she flicked her hand once. The drones crumpled another. Flick, they melted. One final pulse from her body, and the entire drone cloud burst into dust. Falling like gray snow, back inside. Riven just stared. She walked back in, not even. Out of breath, "I guess that was the trigger," she said. Riven laughed softly, eyes wide. "You just broke space." But far away, someone was watching in a hidden war station buried in a dying star system. A screen lit up. Subject, Lyra. Phase 4, containment failed. A cold voice replied, "Initiate Phase 7, full deployment." But she broke the chains. "Then we upgrade the cage." Back on the ship, Lyra sat beside Riven. Her voice was softer now. "They'll come harder next time. I know. You should leave me." Riven looked at her. "I didn't come this far to run." She nodded, then leaned her head on his shoulder. "Oh, do you think others like us are waking up now?" Ouch. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked out at the stars and whispered, "I think the galaxy's about to remember who we are." There was no more hiding, not for them, not for anyone. The signal went out across every major broadcast channel, through black market satellites, through forbidden networks even the governments had forgotten. It carried one message, one voice. Not alien, not synthetic. Human. The screen flickered on every planet, every station, every ship drifting between the stars. People paused. Merchants froze mid-trade. Soldiers dropped their guns. Slaves looked up. A boy and a girl stood in front of a burning sky. Behind them, wreckage, silence, ash. Before them, a broken galaxy about to wake up. Riven stepped forward, voice calm. "They told you we were gone. They told you we were weak, simple, soft. They called us pets, slaves, science projects, entertainment. But we remember what we are." Lyra stood beside him, eyes bright with fire. "We were made for war. Then we were hidden. Then they chained us. But now," the screen blinked. Then she whispered the words that started it all. "Claim me, or I'll suffer here." And then we claim ourselves. Across the galaxy, sparks lit in silence. On a mining moon, an old man looked at his hand as it started to glow. On a prison ship, a girl shattered her cell with a whisper. In the lowest slums of a trade station, a mute boy spoke for the first time in years. "I remember." The Genesis children were waking up. Not all were like Lyra and Riven. Some were broken. Some were angry. Some had been waiting too long, and some wanted revenge. On a hidden government ship, high-ranking aliens screamed at each other. We should have erased them. They were children. They were weapons, not people. One voice interrupted all the noise. Cold, robotic. Old, they are not children anymore. They are evolution. Lyra and Riven's ships sailed toward the unknown edges of space, toward a signal they didn't send, but both felt a beacon dot from deep space dot calling. They landed on an abandoned planet covered in dust and bones. No cities, no light, but the moment their feet touched the ground, the earth hummed. Something was buried below. Not machines, not machines. Not weapons, people. They moved toward a cliff. Below, thousands of glowing lights flickered in the dark pods, human, dash-shaped. Sleeping, waiting, Riven fell to his knees. They kept them here. Lyra touched one of the pods. The glass cracked slightly. A hand moved inside. A girl, still alive. Her eyes opened. She looked at Lyra and smiled. Above them, clouds turned red. Dozens of alien warships had arrived, and leading them, a massive figure in black armor. A commander of the old days. He looked down at Lyra and Riven. "Stand down," he ordered. "You are outnumbered." Riven smiled. "No." He turned around. All the pods behind him were opening, one by one. Humans stepped out, old, young, silent, glowing, Genesis. Phases I through X, forgotten, now found. Lyra stepped forward and spoke without raising her voice. "We begged. You laughed. We waited. You sold us. We broke. And you cheered. Now, you run." The sky turned white. The war didn't start with guns. It started with memory. It started with names. It started with a whisper. "I'm human." And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy listened.